Hello, boys and girls. So today we are resuming our lectures on spectroscopy, and today we will be learning something about NMR spectroscopy. But before I go to NMR spectroscopy, let us first discuss or recapitulate about what do you mean by spectroscopy. So it is nothing but the interaction of electromagnetic radiation with matter. So we know that the electromagnetic radiation are belonging to various regions, like the UV vis is one part of the electromagnetic radiation, and it is belonging to the high energy region. Now, when UV vis spectroscopy or UV vis radiations are passed through matter, what happens is that because of the high energy of such radiations, the electrons present in that matter that undergoes a transition from one energy state to another energy state, and the corresponding energy that is emitted out, that is reflected in the form of a signal, and that is nothing but a spectrum. Now similarly, the IR spectroscopy here deals with the interaction of IR radiation with matter. Now since the IR radiations are of lesser energy, what happens is that when it is used to bombard a atom or a molecule, then the covalent bonds present in that molecule, what happens is that undergoes such covalent molecules or covalent bonds undergo vibrations, and the vibration takes place from one energy level to another energy level, and the vibrations, they are of various types, as we have discussed in our previous lectures. And depending upon what type of vibration and for a particular covalent bond, we find that there is a signal in the spectrum, and every signal in the IR spectrum corresponds to a particular vibration of one particular covalent bond, and depending upon the position of the peaks in the IR spectrum, we can able to determine the different types of functional groups that are present in that organic compound. Now let us come to the NMR spectroscopy. It is the interaction of radio waves with matter. But till now we have been learning about the electrons that are undergoing transition, the covalent bonded molecules that are undergoing vibration. But in NMR spectroscopy, it is the nucleons that undergo transition when a radio wave is passed through it. Now we know very well that radio waves, they are nothing but the least energy, they have the least energy as compared to the UV radiations and the IR radiations. So now let us move towards NMR spectroscopy. So here it is written that it is a powerful analytical technique that is used to determine the physical and chemical properties of atoms or molecules in an organic compound. So why it is told as powerful? Because this gives us more information as compared to a UV vis spectroscopy or a IR spectroscopy. Now, as I said that it uses the low energy radio waves. That means when low energy radio waves are bombarded to a atom or a molecule, what happens is that the nucleons, what is nucleons? It is the neutrons and the protons present in the nucleus. So it is the nucleons that they undergo transition, and because of the transition we see a signal in the NMR spectrum. So based on what type of information that you want from the particular organic compound, we have to know how to analyze the spectrum, that is the NMR spectrum. Now since the nucleons are playing a major role in this NMR, there are two types of NMR that is used for the structural determination. One is the 1H NMR, that means the hydrogen NMR, and the carbon NMR. Now if we are using the nucleons of a hydrogen atom, then we say that it is a hydrogen NMR, and if we are using the nucleons of the carbon atom, then we say that it is a C12 NMR. So now let us come to the principle, which is of very, very importance. So you have to listen very carefully and understand what I am saying. So before we move to the principle, we have to understand what are nucleons. So what is a nucleon? It is nothing but the constituents of the nucleus. That means the protons and the neutrons. So we very well know that the protons, they are charged particles, whereas neutrons, they do not carry any charge. Now, earlier we have heard that electrons, they are negatively charged particles and they have spin. That means they spin in their orbital. So in a particular orbital, maximum 2 electrons can be housed. Each electron will have a spin in the clockwise direction, represented by plus half, and another electron, it can have the opposite configuration or opposite spin, that is the minus half. So that means these 2 electrons, that means the electrons, they have spin. Similarly, the nucleons, that is the protons and the neutrons, they also spin, and they are represented by the spin quantum number I. Now, these protons are charged particles and they are spinning. So that means any charged particle which is moving will generate a magnetic field. So that means between the protons and the neutrons, it is the protons that are generating a magnetic field. So all the protons that are housed in a nucleus, they behave like small magnets and they are randomly oriented. So in the absence of any external magnetic field, they are randomly oriented. That means the net magnetic field experienced by such protons is 0. But what happens when this nucleons, they are placed between the 2 poles of a magnet? Then what happens that in the presence of this externally magnetic field, what happens that the small tiny magnets, that means the protons, they are behaving as magnets. So these protons, they start to align either in the direction of the magnetic field or they align against the magnetic field. So this is the basic essence of the NMR. Now let us see that which type of nucleons can be used for NMR spectroscopy. So there are 3 categories of nucleons. So one is the nucleus with an odd mass number. We know that any atom, it has got a mass number and an atomic number. So if the nucleus is having an odd mass number and also having an odd number of nucleons, for such nucleus, the spin quantum number is fractional. Now let us see the examples here. For the case of hydrogen 1, C13, F19, phosphorus 31, all these are having an odd mass number and an odd number of nucleons. That means the spin quantum number is denoted as half. Whereas in the case of boron 11 and sulfur 33, the spin quantum number is 3/2. And in the case of oxygen 17, the spin quantum number is 5/2. So all these atoms that are represented here, they have a spin quantum number I as fractions. Now similarly, if the nucleus, that means if some atoms have an even mass number but they have an odd number of nucleons, that is the protons and the neutrons, such nuclei will have a spin quantum number which is an integer. Now for example, it is the hydrogen 2 and the nitrogen 14. So all these atoms have a I as 1. Now similarly, if some atoms have an even mass number having an even number of protons and neutrons, such nuclei have a spin quantum number as 0. Examples are C12, O16 and sulfur 32. Now among all these nuclei that is represented here, only the nuclei having a spin quantum number equal to half, all, that means it is hydrogen 1, C13, F19, phosphorus 31. Now all these atoms are of great significance in the NMR spectroscopy. Now, as I said in my previous slide, if we are using a hydrogen 1 for the NMR spectroscopy, it is told as the hydrogen NMR, and if we are using a C13 for the NMR spectroscopy, we say it is the C13 NMR spectroscopy.